Los Angeles, California, and I'm getting ready to interview celebrity actor, producer, and author Darrin Henson. He happens to be one of my very good friends, and I'm so excited to introduce him to you guys in a different way. Tune in.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. You finally got me on the mountain.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. How have you been?
Thank you. I'm good. Been busy.
I seen your pictures on Instagram. Congratulations on the play.
Thank you. Yep, married but single. We've been busy, sold out shows, so I'm excited.
Were you ready to go for a hike?
I am.
All right. So we're gonna go see the Hollywood sign. And
if we can, huh?
I know.
Yeah, it's kind of overcast today.
But you know
we'll
what?
See.
I'm kind of glad so that way I don't sweat out all my makeup in my hair.
Yeah.
You ready? Let's
go.
go. Hey, so I know you're from the Bronx, New York.
Yes.
So when did you get to Hollywood?
Actually, you know, my process was really interesting because I started off as a dancer who really just wanted to work with Michael Jackson. And then during that process, I became a choreographer. And really, I became a choreographer because I was frustrated with a lot of the other choreographers. So I was like, I want to do this myself. And Michael Jackson was the target for me. You know, he was like the icing on the cake. And
what was your favorite Michael Jackson music video?
Oh, hands down, The Way You Make Me Feel. It's my favorite, still to today. Those are that is like my favorite video of all time. And during the process of choreographing and working with so many artists, and of course Michael Jackson and Prince after Michael.
So you ended up working with him?
Oh yeah, I worked with Michael for about a year.
How'd you make that happen?
It was amazing. Actually, I was blessed because being at the right place at the right time. And this is a funny story. I was working with Montel Jordan and we were working with Eddie Murphy doing The Nutty Professor.
Wow.
And I was on the set at Universal Studios, and during the lunch break, I went walking, and I wound up walking on to the Scream set where Janet and Michael were shooting Scream, and I just stood there. I knew the choreographers, and I actually got to see some of the filming. And then later on, they said that he was having an audition for a tour and to do some video in Hungary, and it happened that way.
Oh my God.
So I literally lucked up because I went on a journey during lunch.
Do you think that it was luck, or do you think that it was serendipitous blessings?
Absolutely serendipitous. I think it was universal. I think it was the law of attraction. I think it was a desire that was in my heart that actually met at this, you know, at this time. And again, because I go on these walks and just journey to discover things, it happened. So yes, it was serendipitous. And so I got to work with Michael Jackson, you know, and I was working with Eddie Murphy for Nutty Professor. So it was like this really amazing.
And how old were you when this all happened?
I was in my late 20s at that time. And you know, again, with the choreography happening, and then I won the MTV Music Award for NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. So all my dreams came true as a choreographer. Yeah. And I said, well, what now? And I just thought, well, you know, John Travolta dance, Gregory Hine dance, Gene Kelly dance. So all the dancer choreographers were also actors. I said, well, time to act. And then I moved to Los Angeles.
Wow, and how old were you when you moved, and what was that moment that you're like, I'm gonna do it, I'm just gonna make it happen?
I think I was about 29 when I came here, and I came here from New York with, you know, guns blazing, ready to go and let the world know who I was and who I am. And it was just a process of saying, this is what I want, this is why I want it, and I'm just gonna go for it. And I never looked back.
Wow. And how many years has it been since then?
It's probably been about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably been about 10, 11 years.
So I'm sure you know that over 100,000 people move to Hollywood every year to make it, and most go home. What tips would you give to people who are trying to make it so that they can not just stay here for 6 months or a year, but stay here as long as you have?
Well, what I would say is ask more of yourself than anybody could ever ask of you. That way you'll always be prepared. You know, there's a saying, to thine own self be true. And I think when you are true to yourself, then that's when the magic happens. You're right? I can only be me. I'm not good at being someone else, so I can be me. And if I live in me, then I can tell my truth. And then my truth actually comes across because I believe it. And if I believe it, then people believe it. So it becomes, and it is organic. And that's what's important for me is for Darrin to be happy.
How did you find the courage? Because I'm sure that you know there's a lot of people out there in corporate America that they're like, I want to be a comedian, I want to be an actor, I want to be a choreographer, but they just don't have what it takes to take that step. What would you tell them?
I would say find a mentor who already does what I want to do. Speak to them, learn from them, and make them your friend. I think that's important because success leaves clues. You just have to know where to put your magnifying glass.
Yeah.
So that's what's important to me, and I understand that. Like Jim Brown, I did a movie called The Express, and Jim and I actually
Yeah,
met
I love that movie.
Yeah, oh, it's so good. Thank you. And Jim and I actually became friends during the Soul Food run. And then I wind up playing him in The Express. And I'm so glad that you like it. I'm really glad that you like it.
Yeah, of course.
It's
And I
one of
love
my favorite
soul
films.
food. Oh, wow.
And so for me, he became my mentor. You know, most people don't know, but he was probably the first African-American action hero in Hollywood.
Wow.
You know, back
Yeah,
in
I
the
didn't know
50s and 60s. And he did this on-camera kiss with Raquel Welch in a movie called 100 Rifles. Like Jim Brown really broke ground. And especially for charismatic, intelligent men of color. And that was important for me to learn from him because, you know, in a way I am him in my body. So I just really learned that I'm a product of all of those people that I learned from.
Wow.
This is so beautiful.
It is. Actually, this is where I come to get a lot of inspiration when I write books.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, so congratulations on your books. Tell me
Thank
a little
you.
bit about how you get your inspiration. Tell me about your latest book.
Well, my book is called Ain't That the Truth, and the tagline is acknowledge, admit, and invite truth into your life.
Wow.
And one of the reasons I put this particular book together was because I found that whenever I speak to my fans, you know, they ask you a lot of questions, and it takes time. And you're dealing with so many people at one time. And I said, look, I can't be everywhere at one time, but a book can. So I wanted to put something together that was really inspiring, that would assist people. Like one of the quotes in my book, it says, you know, hold the vision and trust the process. Now that's something powerful. If you hold the vision of what you desire in life and you trust the process, no matter what the process is, then again, it's about the end result. And you can achieve what your desire is in your heart. So that was important for me. So it's a book of motivational quotes, thoughts, and ideas.
Wow. I know that you have already been inspiring a lot of people and you're still doing it now. Who inspires you? Who has motivated you?
Well, really, again, I'm a collection of people that I've sought after, mentors, and I'd learned. And if people were to ask me that, and you just did, then I would have to honestly say, you know, Jesus. You know, Jesus was like my best friend, you know, when I was a kid. Like I used to read the Bible and get lost in it and just kind of literally not just read it, but find myself in a situation in my mind where when I was reading, it was almost like I was walking with Jesus and the disciples, right? So it was like I was there, you know, or, you know, again, Jim Brown, Michael Jackson. You know, I love listening to people who a lot of people don't talk about, like black inventors and inventions, you know, studying those people, because it says to me that my history is not yet fully written. It's still work to be done. And I'm creating history as I'm living. So what I'm doing is writing my obituary now. I'm not waiting for somebody to write it. I'm going to leave the information for them to put together. So I want to do that. I don't want somebody to write about me. I want to be able to create my legacy and them to write about what I've done.
Wow.
And that's important to me.
Great. So tell me now, what are 5 things that nobody knows about you?
Whoa.
That they would be interested to find out?
5 things that nobody knows about me. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I like that.
I secretly wish that I could train